Welcome to Storytime from Space, a project of the Global Space Education Foundation. To learn how you can support this exciting project, please visit storytimefromspace.com.
Hello, and welcome to the International Space Station. I'm astronaut Kate Rubens, and today we're going to read a book about Rosie Revere, Engineer, by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, I truly do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie of the tale of things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight. And this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn. She gave her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop that it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed, and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and I will never be a great engineer." She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, and perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Don't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed. That is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do." "Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew." "Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy, get on to the next." She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. Thanks for joining us today on the International Space Station. We have a lot of engineers working for us, and someday I hope we have Rosie Revere working for us too.
Welcome to Storytime from Space, a project of the Global Space Education Foundation. To learn how you can support this exciting project, please visit storytimefromspace.com.
Hello, and welcome to Storytime in Space. My name is Serena Anand-Chancellor, and I'm on board Expedition 56 on the International Space Station. Again, welcome, whether you're at home or at school or your local library. Today we are in the airlock, which is where we do all our spacewalks from on the International Space Station. And I'm next to my two buddies here, spacesuit number 1 and spacesuit number 2. This is where we keep the suits safe in between the spacewalks that we do. And all our equipment, all these bags and everything floating that you see above me, these are all part of getting ready for our spacewalks. And when we're ready to go, we actually clear out all this stuff behind me and pull it out. And this is what we call this whole big place, our airlock. This little part is the crew lock, and it has the hatch to go outside into space so we can work on the space station. Today, great book, Ada Twist, Scientist by Andrea Beatty, and illustrated by David Roberts. So I hope you guys will enjoy this today. Let's get started. Ada Marie, Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and make her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day chasing each sound in sight and didn't slow down till she conked out for the night. And there she is. She's sleeping on the dresser. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and simply asked, why? So there she is. She's on top of the clock, and she's asking why. Her brother's pointing at her. Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, you'll figure it out. And see what's happening to my sock down here? This happens all the time. There's Velcro for us to keep things on space station. And my sock is stuck to a special tether that keeps us safe when we do our spacewalks. So I had to release it. And if you look at the tops of my socks, they're all fuzzy because they've been stuck to Velcro lots of times. Okay, back to Ada. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer found her hands quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. And here she is. She's doing experiments, and all the kids are standing back, but she is not afraid. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. Zowie, said Ada, which got her to thinking, what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. So what's a hypothesis? A hypothesis is something that you think is going to happen with your science experiment. Sometimes it means that something will happen and there'll be a change. And sometimes your hypothesis could be that nothing will change and nothing will happen. That's what's so great about science. So you can see Ada here. She is testing things out on her scientific table, and rightly so, wearing her safety goggles. Then, zowie, the stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested and tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, stop! See, Ada's trying to wash the kitty in the washing machine. Do not do this at home, kids. Not a good idea. Let your parents wash the kitty. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now, by the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She's very sad, going to her thinking chair. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked two. And each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. See, she's thinking. She is writing out all her facts. The cat's looking at her kind of funny, but she is thinking and trying to figure it out. Her parents calmed down, and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." That's the great thing about the space station, is I can even read upside down. And that's what they did, because that's what you do. When your kid has a passion and heart that is true, they remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question, and someday, who knows? Here's Ada with all her friends in the 2nd grade. The end. Ada Twist, scientist. I hope you all had fun with Storytime in Space. Once again, I'm Serena Anand-Chancellor from the International Space Station right here in the airlock with my spacewalking suit buddies. It was great to see all of you guys, and I hope I see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hey.
Thank you for joining us for Storytime from Space. We hope you enjoyed our story today from the International Space Station. We hope you'll join us again soon for another book reading or for one of our science experiments. Until next time, we look forward to reading together again soon. Welcome to Storytime from Space, a project of the Global Space Education Foundation. To learn how you can support this exciting project, please visit storytimefromspace.com.
Hi, my name's Tim and I'm an astronaut on board the International Space Station. Now behind me is a very special door. This door here. We call it an airlock, and that airlock leads out into outer space because we're currently orbiting planet Earth about 400 kilometers up in space. And today's book is all about space and a young boy called Rory and his friend the robot Hubble, who go on a great adventure. This is called The Incredible Intergalactic Journey Home. two friends were on a secret trip. Through deepest space they flew, 1 billion light years from their home, and guess what? No one knew. They were having just the best time and drinking lemonade. The robot's name was Hubble, who said, "Look what I've made." "That's my name," said Rory, as he gazed about in awe at stars, black holes and planets, and a hurtling meteor. "Uh-oh, danger," Hubble cried. "Take evasive action." The meteor streaked past them and missed by just a fraction. Their lemonade went everywhere, a frothy fizzy foam, and wrecked their ship's computer, which knew the way back home. The two friends drifted silently, as lost can be. "What to do? More lemonade?" asked Hubble helpfully. Then through the inky blackness they saw a shape appear. "An alien ship," Rory whispered, shivering in fear. The spaceship stopped. They held their breath. A door slid open wide. The two friends quaked and quivered. There was something weird inside. "Great galaxies, just look at this," a cheerful alien cried. "You two don't belong out here." "We're lost," the friends replied. "Oh, don't fret," the alien said. "I know just what to do. Won't you step inside my splendid intergalactic zoo? I have gwals and flarps and zingos, pogogs and boctiburs, the most marvellous monsters in the whole universe." Rory pointed excitedly. "I know that creature there." "Aha!" exclaimed the alien. "It's from, I'll show you where." But wait! Behind the alien, a fearsome creature loomed. "Be careful," called out Hubble. "Look behind you. Oh, we're doomed." The alien just chuckled as it gave the beast a squirt. "With my Zorgon taming spray, you won't ever get hurt." It showed them where to head for and gave them the taming spray. The two friends both said thank you, and they quickly zoomed away. They raced through space until they reached a massive yellow sun. Around it, 8 amazing planets very slowly spun. "But which one's home?" sighed Rory. Oh, he felt close to despair. People loved him down below, if only he knew where. His friend put out a kindly arm and said, "Don't be afraid. No matter how bad things may seem, there's lots of lemonade." Bleep, bleep. The two friends heard a sound. They saw a glint of light. A shiny space probe whirred right by and gave them both a fright. It saw them, stopped, shot out a beam, and scanned them head to toe. A robot and a human boy. It wailed, "Oh, gracious no. You're not what I'm looking for," it told them rather sadly. "My mission's to find aliens. It's going very badly. I've searched across the galaxy, and I've had 0 luck." "Well, we're lost," Rory explained. "Looks like we're all quite stuck. But if you're after aliens, then it's your lucky day. You'll find a whole zoo full of them, light years, back that way." "Oh, thank you," bleeped the space probe. "But wait, before I run, let me help you. Your home is Earth, 3rd planet from the sun." "Then let's go," Rory declared, and quickly at the double. It's morning soon. If we're not back, there's going to be trouble. Down the two friends zoomed. Their ship got very hot inside. "Lemonade," Hubble offered. Rory simply sighed. Splosh! It went into the ocean. "Does this," Rory asked, confused, "look much like home to you?" "It does seem wetter," his friend said, "and much more fishy too." Fantastic creatures passed them by, all darting here and there. "We belong here on this planet," said Rory. "Only where?" Perhaps his friend said we should head for somewhere slightly drier, and up they flew into the light, higher, higher, higher. At last the two friends landed, then got out and looked around. "Oh, yippee!" Rory shouted. "My feet, they're on the ground." Dazzling birds flew through the air, He watched strange creatures roam, but still he said, and shook his head, "It doesn't look like home." Just then they heard a voice cry, "Help! Someone, please help me! A gang of very hungry lions has chased me up this tree." "Don't panic," called out Rory. "Hold still, we'll save the day." And he carefully took aim using the Zorgon taming spray. Psh! An explorer climbed down from the tree. "Thank you," he declared. "Though I did have it under control, I wasn't really scared." "You sounded scared," Rory replied. "You were screaming a lot." "Screaming?" the explorer laughed. "Good heavens, I think not." "Anyway," he quickly said. He'd turned a shade of red. "Just what are you two doing here?" "We're lost," the two friends said. "Lost?" cried the explorer. "Goodness, that will never do." And, unfolding an enormous map, he said, "Let me help you. You see that flag there on your ship? It's from the UK, here." He pointed to it on the map. "You see, you're getting near." "Thank you," said the friends. "And now we really have to fly." They took the map and shot back up into the wide blue sky. On they flew until, at last, the UK far below. Rory asked his friend, "Now, do you know which way to go?" "Directions aren't my strong point," said Hubble, most dismayed. "I'm only built for friendship, well, and that lemonade." They raced on. It was getting light. Where was home? Where? It would be morning very soon. They had no time to spare. "Hold on," Rory cried. "Down there. I've seen that place before." "Then home is that way," Hubble said. "At least, I'm pretty sure." "But which one was their home? That one or that one over there?" "There's my home," Rory cried out. "I'd know it anywhere." "We need to land, and quickly too. Morning's here already." "Land?" his friend said nervously. "Okay, I'll try. Hold steady." Crash! Their ship bounced off a roof. All systems went haywire. Inside filled up with thick grey smoke. And fire! 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 "Someone help!" coughed Rory. He was feeling weak and dizzy. "But look, Hubble's put the fire out with something very fizzy." "Sorry for crashing," Hubble sniffed. "I'm the worst robot ever." "No, you're not," Rory said. "Oh, you mustn't say that. Never. We got home safe and sound, thanks to your awesome lemonade. And you were there to comfort me each time I was afraid. I had you by my side from the beginning to the end. No, you're not the worst robot, but you are the greatest friend." Back home in bed, Rory thought of all the things he'd done. They had sometimes been quite scary, and sometimes loads of fun. Space was just amazing, full of dangers and delights. And Earth, it was incredible. There'd been some wondrous sights. Still, at times along the way, he'd felt so lost and small, so far from all the people who would miss him most of all. But here back home, where he belonged, one thing was for sure. In the whole entire universe, no boy could be loved more. That's a great book, The Incredible Intergalactic Journey Home. I hope you enjoyed reading it as much as I did. And now, from the International Space Station, it's time to say goodbye.